When I created the shrimp room, I wanted to automate the shrimp room as much as possible. So follow along as we go through all the steps and what I've set up in order to make this shrimp room as automated as possible, and how to monitor and set up and keep track of things in the room. One of the first things we did, and I wish I'd have done more of this, was that first plug socket above the rack has a smart socket. So it's British General, I think the smart socket is, and one side controls the lighting to the racks and the other side controls, I believe, I need to test them, I believe the a four-way extension that runs additional lighting. This is the British General app, and what it does, it gives you the ability to access a socket and treat each left and right as an individual component. You can set timers up here, but I use Alexa for this. Moving towards the center of the room, I have a Tapo smart plug. So that Tapo smart plug controls the on and off of the AC units, the AC and heat unit there, and likewise up on the top I've also got a Tapo plug and two other smart plugs, but I'll come back to those. So moving back down the room, tripping over buckets, I have a Tapo sensor, and that sensor controls, or it monitors, humidity and temperature. And what I'm able to do, so moving back up, these fit onto a hub, so that's a Tapo hub, and then moving onto the heat and the AC. In the winter, I set those plugs up and use the heat and humidity sensor as a trigger. So the idea is, if it gets above a certain temperature, turn a plug off. If it gets below a certain one, turn it off. And that literally reverses in the summer. And in the summer, I just use the dehumidifier as a heat source. So this, it then gets turned to chill, and if it gets too warm, the chill comes on. If it gets too cold, it goes off. And this ends up being my sort of nighttime temp, because the dehumidifier, it's on now actually, it does pump out a small amount of heat. So the Tapo app then, this is the gauges for temp and humidity, and it'll show you min and max. And then within there you can switch off certain devices. So you can switch off and on the dehumidifier plug, and likewise you can create scenes. I've also got the air pumps connected to Tapo plugs, so I can turn them off individually, or to the bottom left I've got like a group, and I can switch both air pumps off at once. Going in then, these are the temp and humidity settings. Next I'll show you the air pump sockets and what they're connected to. Speaking of Tapo plugs then, I've also got a Tapo plug connected to my air pump for this frame, and then in this, the lights aren't on at the moment, so I don't know how well we'll see this. And then we've also got an airframe in there that runs another air pump that's also on a Tapo. So that's a recent addition for me, and the idea of that was that I can knock the air pumps off when I'm recording, rather than having to sort of reach and go and find plugs behind. On top of that then, I've also got some additional plugs. So one on the right there, that switches on the zapper for 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day. And then the one to the left switches on the lighting for that rack, and that's all for Alexa and on timers. In fact, I think it's for a different app called Teckin. And then likewise, we've got one up here as well. So what I'll do is I'll show you each of those apps and what I've got those currently set to, and obviously they change between summer and winter. So that plug there is the light for the little tank down here. This light here So this is a light that I use for filming and stuff. This light here also illuminates this tank, and what you can do on that light is if you switch it on, so you can flick between 1, 2 and 3, and then you can set a timer, but it's 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and it goes from when you actually set it, but because I sort of use 3, 2, 1, and if you see that dim down, I tend to use that manually anyway, so I'll come in at night and switch that off. So this is the Teckin app, and within there we've got 2 plugs. So I think we've got the Aquael tank and the spiders, and you can set scenes in here, but again I use Alexa for this. Moving on to the Alexa app next, then you can see that I've got all these set up as individual devices, the zapper, etc., along with CO2 and the tank lights in the house, and I use mostly routines in here. Other things we've got as part of our automation then is we've got a couple of these, I think they're called S20 Pros, so they plug into a light lead, and that one there does the pod light, and I think I've got another one, yeah I have here, and I've got another one here for the terrarium light. And what those guys do, what those devices do, is they create like a dawn and a dusk, so you can sort of gradually increase your light intensity rather than just on or off. In the corner of the room right at the bottom, I've got 2 Tapo cameras, so these work on the Tapo app as well, and I've got sort of 2 set up there, and I can monitor those sort of remotely from my phone, and I can set up alerts, so if anything, the alerts will pick up people. So you can set them up to pick people or other things on the alerts, and they'll give you push notifications on your phone. So here's an example of the cameras in the Tapo app, and they give you the ability to sort of pan and zoom in. The zoom quality is okay, so I can check a tank, or spot if there's any water overflowing or stuff like that, if a float valve gets stuck when I'm filling in. And I think this is the first camera I showed you, and then if we flip round we'll have a look at the other camera, and there's me at the end of the room giving you guys a wave. And then here they are in the Tapo app itself. And here's me just giving you a quick demonstration and a wave from camera number 2. Finally then, and although this isn't an automation as in you set it up and you get things to do things, I still class this as sort of an automation. So these here are, I've connected the racks up to various float valves, so it's like a circuit with the tap. The feed here that you can see where I've got my hand, that goes into my water, so although I have to take water out of each tank individually, once I've done that I can automatically switch the pump on, connect it to the set of racks that I've connected up, and just walk away. And what that will do is that will fill up all my tanks until the float valves stop, and then they won't go any further. I do monitor them anyway, just in case there's ever a problem, but I'm not sitting there having to watch things, it just does it all for me, so I do class that as automation. In finishing them, would I change anything? Yes, 100%. If I knew what I knew now, I think I'd have had all my tanks drilled. I'd have had a way of switching a button and emptying 10% off every one of those tanks at will, directly to drain, or maybe through some filter system. I'd have put more of the BG sockets, the British General sockets, up, so that all of my sockets were smart sockets and I could sort of manipulate and do those. And because I didn't, I'm ending up buying loads of these Tapo plugs. I did actually have one last bit, so let's put that section in now. It's here, excuse the mess. One of them is a Wi-Fi extender, so the one on the left is a Wi-Fi extender. They both have USB ports. I use them to charge my camera equipment. And the last little thing in here that I do consider useful is I've got an Echo Dot, an Amazon Echo Dot, so that if I'm working in here and someone at the door, it picks up movement, so I don't have to sort of miss the door and stuff like that. Hope you enjoyed that short video and found it useful. learn from my mistakes. If you set up a room, get smart plugs or smart sockets fitted everywhere, because believe me, you'll if you don't use them, fine, but if you end up needing them, you don't have to put additional cost, and it's obviously time saving and device saving as well. So with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the love and support. Drop us a comment, let me know your thoughts on how we've set this up, and if you do anything different, and we'll get a little conversation going. But with all that being said, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and until next time, take care everyone, bye bye.